I hope everybody had a great summer. Welcome back. We have a busy year. Let's get the minutes approved first, and then we'll go from there. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Diana's the second. Any changes, corrections, deletions, missing items?
If there are, it's so long ago, I don't remember.
I agree.
Seeing none, all in favor of approving as presented? Opposed? Abstentions? Passes unanimously.
It was Hank?
Hmm?
I think it.
No, Hank agreed. He was just a little late.
Yes.
He needs some of Sue's new prescription. I couldn't resist.
No, clearly not.
I know. Correspondence?
In the folder is just one substitute
thank
report
you.
from the very end of the year.
Oh, well then I'll pass around that substitute report for you all to look at. It should give you the numbers for the entire year, which I imagine in terms of the delta are very close. I don't imagine there were probably very many instances last year where we needed a sub and couldn't find one. It is going to be a busy year. We have 4 projects, which we'll discuss today and probably every meeting that we have between now and March. We have 2 upcoming contracts, GEA and GESS, which we'll be working on negotiating this year. Budget. One of the focuses of our goals when we sat down at the table last year was talking about doing a better job of providing the community with education about what we're doing. We're going to need to continue working on that. We are going to need to revisit the area agreement and decide whether or not there are any issues, whether or not any of the sending districts have any issues that need to be addressed, and how to approach addressing any things that we need to before renewal. And in line with that, if you don't already know it, I know that because of some interest in their community, that Dunbarton has been talking with other places where they might tuition their students. I believe that they will develop, it's my understanding that they'll develop a committee to investigate those options, and will use that as a foundation for talking about any things that they see as needs for their students. So I would anticipate that going forward, we will hear not only about the results of those conversations and their focus groups. We'll also hear about some things that they may believe either they're getting already, that they aren't getting, and that they'd like to see. So it should be a good process and should dovetail nicely with the fact that we've got to revisit the AREA this year. So we will be very, very busy, and it will require everybody handling at least one or if not several. Commendations, good news.
Barb, this would be
I
your
have a
opportunity.
I talked to Mr. Hunt and Nicole, and I just wanted to, what happened this summer, what could I report? Summer success, the summer program went well. They felt that it was very academic this year. There were no major issues, and they wanted to let you know that it went well. They had 2 big teacher workshops this summer that were very well attended. Just about 100% of the people that needed to be there went. We had Dr. Paratori come from, she is actually one of the women who developed the Reading Streets program that we bought for for the elementary school. And so she came this past week, and then we had 2 more days of training to go over reading streak stuff. That was very well attended and went very well. She's a really outstanding speaker. 7th and 8th grade also has their new reading program, and they got together 3 times to work on core reading programs. The new teachers that were hired also were involved in that, and that was, again, very well attended. The building was getting ready at the middle school, and the gym floor was redone. It looks great, but I guess there was some minor flaw that is going to be fixed this week. And the parking lot looks great, and that was pretty much all we had to report.
Thank you very much.
Do we know how the high school student who went to Chicago for, is it the Stockholm project? What happened?
I don't know, but I can find out.
I'd love to
Yeah,
find out.
I don't know.
I'd love to follow up on that. Thank you.
The best part of that news was really what the staff is doing, that we're continuing to focus on professional development, that there's a high rate of voluntary participation ahead of a hurricane and following some great weather. All really good news. And it really is going to, because these are new programs, it's going to require a fair amount of digging in and a collaborative effort. Good to know. Any other good news or commendations? Seeing none, we shall move along. Any public comments? Again, seeing none, we shall move along. Standing committee reports, admin and finance.
Okay. We have 3 manifests here. Do you want to vote on them one at a time or all at once? One at a time.
You can do it one at a time.
Okay. The manifest dated July the 5th. It covers from June 24th to June 30th. The total is $3,128,977.28. Of that, payroll, taxes, health and dental benefits total $2,520,226.29. Special ed total is $93,781.05. That was bills from the end of June, basically. Mary Jordan, teacher of the deaf, Shortridge Academy, and Crotchet Mountain. General expenses total $84,100.90. For a grand total again of $3,128,977.28.
Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
You do.
Second?
One second.
Diane? Any questions, concerns, issues not addressed? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Next.
Anybody wants any further detail, I've got a sheet here for this one. Second one. Again, this covers July the 1st through July 31st. Excuse me. For a total of $1,703,929.87. Again, payroll taxes, health and dental benefits for June. This was a June run over, $690,877.83. Special ed, $116,211.75. And general expenses totaled $442,323.38. Again, for a total of $1,703,929.87. Any questions, any details?
Yeah, what's the big items in the general stuff?
General stuff? GE Capital, $121,498. That's for the high school and middle school laptop leases. $39,000 for the Goffstown Truck Center, the fuel surcharge for 210. And another big one was $20,860 for Hookset paving, the ceiling for the Mountain View Middle School. Those are the major
For the laptops, do we pay like upfront just for the whole year? Or,
Do you?
we do, okay, so that takes care of this fiscal
obligation
year,
for
like
this
are we
coming
paying at
year.
the end or coming up? Okay.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? May I have a motion to approve as presented?
I'll move.
A second? Suzanne? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. And the last one.
And the last one for 829 was the $1,610,833. Payroll taxes and benefits, $818, $818,229.70. The special ed, believe it or not, was $10,270. That was for the Hear Clear system at Maple Ave.
For
And
what
Jim-
system?
Hear Clear, it's an FM system.
Okay.
Okay.
And general expenses, again, the total for that was $433,662. The major item of that was the SAU assessment of $248,000.
Is the is the hearing piece an individual or a general need?
It was probably several individuals at that cost. It was probably, but they're probably
Oh, okay.
classroom systems
Okay.
So it sounds like
for
it's a system.
individuals, yeah. We try not to buy the individual ones that go with the student versus the classroom system, because then it benefits everybody. And
Right.
Well, again, you got a total of 1.6 million.
Any other questions? A motion to approve as presented.
I'll move it.
Second? By Laura? All in favor? Opposed?
Before.
Abstention? Unanimous.
As I said, if anybody wishes to look at the detail,
Can I see?
Anything else on your agenda, Hank?
that's it.
Human Resources.
I'm hoping to get in a meeting this month, I'm not sure if it's possible.
so can we jump to your meeting date? I have that under other, kind of
Yes.
under my superintendent's notes, but that will help. So for the next two meetings, we have a meeting scheduled because of the way the month falls. We're meeting today. Your normal, so then we plugged in the 12th because it's like the second Monday versus the first Monday's a holiday, and then the 19th. So I don't know that the board needs to meet 2 weeks in a row, and so that was the question. We were gonna wait till this meeting to decide how busy we were and how things were going. So I might recommend to the board that they just meet on the 19th versus the 12th, because it's only, the 12th is gonna be 4 days, and
Right.
then 4 actual school days, and then we'll be back. So if you met on the 19th, it's like kind of 2 weeks, and then you'll have 2 weeks before your next meeting.
Sounds good to me.
Let's put something, let me throw something else out there, because I think this is, the pie's a little bit bigger than that. If we use the 12th for the committee meetings,
Yep.
and Ciani could end up there too. I also believe that we need to, and maybe it's not a September date, but it's got to be pretty close thereafter. We need to sit down as a board and make some decisions about negotiations, what the board collectively wants as a group. I think that can happen in a work session. But that's, whether or not we try to do that in the body of a meeting or separately, let's figure that out now.
I
But
don't think you could do that in a work session.
Now, I also have some dates that, when we get to it, that I've gotten from the GEA for negotiation dates. One of them happens to be September 12th, 13th, 14th, 20, 26, 27. So we have some dates to think about there as well. You can meet as, the negotiating team can meet to discuss I think you can discuss negotiations in a workshop. It's not an open session because it's negotiations. You can meet at any time to do that.
the other possibility is that we do it and again, if we're discussing things generally as opposed to specifically, I don't think it creates an issue. I think if it's deeper than landscape, then it probably needs to be something that is non-public.
Yeah, because I think the board, hopefully all 9 of us, have to
Right.
sit down and decide where we're going with this.
I agree. And it may be that we may want to set aside time, depending upon the scope of our agenda, on the 19th for doing it then. Okay, so why don't we do that? And then we'll have the flexibility, depending upon content, of either doing it as publicly or as a non-private work session, non-public work session, excuse me. So that brings us back to the 12th. Will that work for you, Laura?
The 12th would work for
Okay.
HR.
And for the time being, let's include C&E regularly to follow that meeting, your meeting, Lori. And if for some reason it doesn't work for Jenny, we'll figure out what the alternative looks like. Anything else in terms of scheduling that's been left off the table?
No, that was just
That's
one that I
fine.
was like, okay, that will tackle those 2 questions.
All right.
Meeting
Um,
the 12th,
It's gonna be the 19th now.
meeting the 19th.
And the only thing, Lori, that we need to discuss for your subcommittee is the next meeting date, nothing else?
Correct.
Okay, terrific.
Everybody signs tonight.
Huh?
I said everybody signs, we need 5.
All
Check's
right.
gonna come back.
Yeah.
Ginny is not here, and we've already made a decision on her next meeting. Diane?
I'm here. P&C, we haven't met all summer, of course. Our next meeting is,
The 12th, do you wanna do that on the 19th now?
yeah, I think we'll need to, because
We'll
we
change
do
that to the
need to meet,
19th.
yeah.
12th for HR.
We have not done articles over the summer, but the intent, I would think, would be to resume doing our articles. And we'll determine our column content at our next meeting. I think that sums us up.
Do we wanna start like in 2 weeks and we can talk about this meeting?
Yes.
That's fine.
At least for
And-
P&C, at least get it going again
Yeah.
before we meet on the 19th, otherwise it's
Is
gonna
that
be
when-
October.
Okay, we can do that.
Suzanne, anything happen over the summer with Budget Committee?
Nope. It's been blissfully quiet. We've lost a couple of members.
Mr. Bellevaux, did you also have a quiet summer?
No.
Well, as regards Budget Committee,
No activity
No,
next month.
no, we had 2 members resign. So we'll be looking to fill those.
so that leaves 3 seats open?
Yes.
You guys are gonna have your work cut out for you.
Well, there were unusually more candidates than seats available in March, so it would be my personal preference that we ask those people. Yes. They obviously expressed an interest and got people to vote for them, so. But we shall see.
Shall,
I'll let you know at the next meeting.
okay.
Budget committee will meet before.
Superintendent's report.
I'll try to keep it short, but I have like 2 pages, so.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, because it's been a long summer.
All
We
summer,
had
yeah,
lots of
I
summer
know.
things going on I want to share.
Pick a
Um,
paper.
To start with, I guess, just an update on the storm. We obviously in Goffstown made out fairly well. We had really no damage in any of our schools. We did cancel, I canceled sports practices this morning because I really wasn't sure going in what we were actually gonna, how our buildings were gonna do, if we were gonna have power, and it was just trying to get a hold of kids in a situation where, you're not putting it on MUR because we're not canceling school. We also had some tryouts, so where you don't necessarily know who all the kids are going to be. So we canceled that on Saturday, so Steve had ample time to get out the word to those kids. We did have new teacher orientation also scheduled for today. We postponed that to tomorrow. Again, not knowing where people lived in the communities that they were coming from, we wanted to make sure everybody was safe. We didn't want a new teacher to have their first experience having to try to get here through a storm. So we did postpone that, but we had a little bit of water. at Maple Ave in a spot that we normally do, but we had nothing major, no problems at all. I think we buckled up the buildings pretty well before we all left on Friday and made sure garbage cans were in, that there was nothing, everything was locked down and patched up. So I think we did, we were very proactive on that part of it.
The trials, do you know when they were rescheduled to?
The
ones
what?
that were this morning, the trials that were this morning, do you know when they've been rescheduled to?
I don't.
Call Steve in the
Yeah,
morning.
call Steve,
Okay.
he'll know. I did have conference calls every morning with the DOE. They do, whenever we have these kinds of things, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and this morning, we had conference calls with the state, with, FEMA, emergency management, just keep it abreast of what's going on, and there are a lot of communities still without power, so, certainly there was an impact, it just wasn't here, so that's good for us. I think most of you have heard, I've emailed out, Jerry Agate was in a really bad accident, continues to be out, we'll know more on September 8th. In the meantime, I couldn't put Ray's, he was business manager, I couldn't add facilities director to his title, he wouldn't let me. So we have
Can I
hired.
get a motion on that?
Yeah. I think between Ray and I, we were getting a little overwhelmed, especially in the summer with all the projects going on and trying to get schools open. So we did hire John Rist, who is the principal, the retired principal from Central. Very experienced. He's done a fabulous job. He's stepped right in as kind of a temporary Jerry because we obviously getting our buildings up and running needed to happen. I need somebody to manage the custodian. So he is filling in. Unfortunately, it's an unbudgeted fill. We don't have the money. We're gonna have to find the money in the budget to pay for him. But it was something that we really needed to do. We can't just have nobody running our facilities. So we are doing that. John has done a great job. I do want to commend Pat Palazzo and Jerry Paris for the 3 or 4 weeks that nobody was filling in. Pat jumped in, she did what she needed to do, she coordinated all the custodians, ordered supplies. She just stepped it up and really did a fabulous job, so I do want to commend them, the two of them, for really stepping in and with a little direction really did what they needed to do. I'd also want to thank Ray, who also helped out tremendously when I came to him with purchase orders and said, I don't know what this is, help us. So we pieced it together, so I do want to thank them all for their efforts. We've had lots of summer projects going on. I think we're ready. The buildings look clean. They're beautiful. School starts on Tuesday. So I think we are ready to go. We had lots of trainings this summer, as Barb said. We had Reading Streets training, 7th and 8th grade, our new literacy program. We had training. Glen Lake had training in the OWLs, which is a new assessment piece we're adding at the preschool, kindergarten level. We had lots of teachers attend AP training. While I will add, while it's great for our AP courses that we teach, you have to have the training to do it. I think it's also a huge benefit to our teachers, even if they're not teaching an AP class, to go, because what you do is you get that high level intensity of how to teach, really about thinking about content, and so it really strengthens our teachers' skills when they do that. And we had last week Smartboard training. As part of buying those Smartboards, we required all the teachers to do it, and I can't tell you, I stopped in, I was there for about an hour and a half, and I have never seen 20 teachers more excited about something. They were just so excited to get their hands on them, to get them moving. Just the energy in the room was wonderful, so I think we're gonna see some great things out of that. We had wonderful summer programs go on. We had our special ed side. For the first time, we kind of separated the two programs a bit because we, as you know, with the budget cuts, we didn't do Summer Boost. So we did offer a summer program for our Title I students using Title I funds. And so because they're Title I funds, you can't mix the programs. So we had a separate special ed program and a separate Title I program. But we did have good turnout and responses for those, and I think those went very well. We've been very busy hiring over the summertime, busy. We have all of those to bring forward tonight. We did get news from Crispin's House 2 weeks ago that they don't have the funds. I think it was pretty public that they don't have the funds to continue the program. And so the Y is looking to bring a program to the Y to help support those kids, whether it's at the Y, whether it's here. I think they're still working out logistics. Ray and I have also talked about maybe if that doesn't pan out, or even if it does, do we maybe go out to bid and see if there's another program, another company out there who would like to take on owning the program at the middle school. I do think we had enough kids there that it would support a program, so we're kind of exploring that as an option, maybe not for this year, but for next year, to help kids and support them. We have good programs running at the elementary school, so the question is, does that, you know, are there companies out there that would want to take on the middle school population? I did share with the board chairs, although I'll share this with the rest of the board. Betty Ann Noyes, who's a a Dunbarton board member, has been in the hospital, and she's been in the hospital for about 2 weeks. The doctors have determined that she cannot live without she's on a respirator right now. Without that, the family has determined that they're going to disconnect it either tonight or tomorrow. So it is likely in the next couple of days that she will pass away. So I did want to share that she is a board member in Dunbarton, and I will share once that happens with the board, when the services are, if somebody wanted to attend that. But we'll continue to think about her, and, you know, she's been a board member, I think, in Dunbarton for a long, long time, I think 20 or 30 years, so.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Yeah, so that's a sad thing happening.
She was a veteran board member when I came on in '85.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She had been
Yeah.
on for
Yeah.
at least 10 or 12 years.
So she's been involved in a lot in Dunbarton,
Yeah.
and so it'll be,
Oh, yeah.
it'll be a loss for Dunbarton. Let's see. As you know, last year, at the end of the year, we spoke, the high school went before the State Board of Education. They had wanted us to talk about, Frank had spoken at a kind of a best practices on innovative strategies at the high school level, and one of the state board members was there and was very impressed with what they talked about, so they asked them to come back to the state board and do a presentation. So we had the opportunity to do that in June. The high school staff did a great job. I think I talked about that at a board meeting. The state board has asked if they can come to Goffstown High School and see what we do. So they're actually going to hold one of their meetings here, their October meeting here at the high school. We'll have them for about 2 hours to talk about what we do here at Goffstown High School and why we do so well and what we're doing that helps us do these scores. And then they'll have the regular meeting here as a public. So I think that's on October 12th. I'm trying to still confirm up the date, but it looks like that will be the day. So I'll certainly send that out if board members want to attend or be present for that. You're more than welcome. Lou D'Alessandro has also contacted me, and again, we've done really well with our test scores. We've done a lot of innovative things in the district. He wants to come spend the day here so that he too can see what great things we're doing in Goffstown.
There you go, Ivan.
Yeah. So I am working on arranging a day for him to come in and spend the day in our schools. And not to leave Ivan out on his day of the high school. So one of the things that has been my goal is to develop kind of a citizens academy, kind of what do we do in our schools? How do we get the information out? And so I'm looking at a 5-night workshop series to do that. I originally had planned in September and October, thinking I would get it done before budget season started, but I was overwhelming myself. So it's going to be one day a month. And the culminating event for that, if you come to at least one of those 5 nights, the culminating event will be to spend the day at the high school. Shadowing students, we'll have it all set up and arranged and probably do some showcase kind of stuff. But I was trying to figure out a way to get out to the public kind of what we do in our schools in an informal way where we can talk about that, answer questions. And so like one night we'll be focused on the budget. One night we'll be focused on kind of student services. What is special ed? What is 504? What do guidance counselors do? What does administration do? One night will be kind of what do we live with? What is No Child Left Behind? What is a Cine and Denny? And what is Title I? All of those kind of services. So we've kind of got different nights so people can pick and choose. People can come to all of them. But that culminating event would be kind of come shadow a student for the day and actually get the real life experience here at the high school. So watch for more information on that. I'm hoping to get some press releases out this week on that. I did want to pass around, and this is just a reminder, your committee assignments. Since it's a new year, I would like to remind you all how easy we forget if you've lost the sheet of paper. Over the summer, Ray and I met with the bus company, and again, as part of the requirement of their new contract, they had to purchase this busware mapping software. And so that is full up and running at this point in time. We met with them, we looked at runs. We actually were able to eliminate 1 bus by looking at runs. So it's a start. Ray and I will continue to monitor that throughout the year, but obviously that's a cost savings of 1 bus that we're not paying for. So that was a nice kind of find as we were looking through them. We also we combined a couple of runs so that we can, one of the areas that's always been a concern is Mountain View and Maple Ave at the end of the day. School gets out at 3:10 and oftentimes buses don't come till 3:50, that last bus. So by adding and moving some runs, we were able to shorten that, so we think, we've done two things. One is we think that the last bus will arrive at 3:30, which I'm thinking Barb is happy about. That's our goal, is 3:30. The other is that we've worked with the police department. We had a meeting with them last week, and at Mountain View, one of the pieces of the puzzle that snags the buses is when the parent line backs up onto Lauren Lane and then Tibbetts Hill, when the buses get stuck in that. And so we have a police officer gonna spend 5 days training a couple of people to kind of be at the bottom of Lauren Lane, where the curve is, and stop cars and allow the buses to go in the other lane and to go up the left side. So that we'll be able to free up the buses to get up there as opposed to sitting in traffic. And so that, again, should help move the traffic along. So again, we're all trying to think outside of the box on how to make things better, and that was one of the solutions. And we met with the chief and an officer, and they were very supportive of it, because obviously once it starts backing up onto Tibbetts Hill, it's a safety concern for them as well. So we're gonna try it for the first 5 days with police assistance and see if it works and helps out. So that should help as well. We got school approval for all of our schools this year. We are set and ready to go, 100% approval. If you remember last year, we had conditional approval at the high school because of, we needed to correct some fire things. We corrected those. We have 100% approval for all of our schools. Retirement costs at the end of last year. If you remember, we cut, or actually we didn't fill several positions because we needed to come up with $622,000 for the anticipated retirement costs. They did renegotiate and recalculate those costs, and so we're looking at about $400,000 of that coming back into being able to spend from what they've told us. Although we're not jumping at spending it yet or replacing those positions, because there's a couple other pieces to the puzzle that we needed to cover. One of them was vocational tuition. So the state cut back on those, so we needed to come up with, I think it was about $50,000.
Yeah.
We had 88
Yeah.
students registered to go to the vocational program. So to allow all of them to go, we needed to come up with about $50,000. And so the high school, we just slashed their budget until we got that, until we knew this money. So about 50,000 of that will get eaten up by that. We're still waiting on oil. We have not, Ray's been working diligently on going out to bid and talking to different vendors, but it's still, it's way up there. We budgeted $269, it's coming in at $3.
It's about 313 now.
Yep, so we anticipate needing some of that to pay for oil prices. We're waiting to filter out all the staffing changes we've had, just where do we fall with staff who changed health insurance plans. So did somebody go from a single plan, get married and have a baby, so where did they go on their plans? Where did the new hires come in at for hiring for the first time ever? I had to say to them, if they wanted to bring somebody in at a higher rate than what the person was before, they had to freeze dollar amounts, because we just don't have the wiggle room in this budget. So we've frozen money to be able to hire, if we had a staff member who was excellent that we were looking to hire, that was coming in higher. We've frozen money, so some of that will need to be taken into account. And things like needing to fill Jerry's position for however long that is, that's money that's not budgeted that we'll need to find. So Ray and I are gonna probably meet over the next month and flesh that out and see where we go and see what staff we can bring back with what's left after that.
So we're just under $100,000 light on that 200,000 gallons a year on the oil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
90,000 is
That's
the
What
number.
he's
Yeah.
estimating, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Barb touched on the gym floor at Mountain View. It looks beautiful when you stand away from it. It's it looks like a different gym. If you haven't been there, it hasn't been done since the gym was built. It is beautiful. Like it looks like a whole new gym. Although I will say now the bleachers look really bad. I got several phone calls and I went over and met with the contractor. We were very disappointed with the paint job they did. They put only one coat on it, and you can see the lines where they painted. He will be back on September 1st and 2nd to repaint those. He agreed that it didn't look great. He said the contract was for one coat. I said, if you knew it was going to look like this, we should have had a conversation. And so he is going to own it and come back on the 1st and 2nd and repaint it so it will look better and meet what we were expecting.
But are not the lines painted under the urethane?
Yes, he's gonna do what he needs to do. Yeah, he'll strip it down
Oh,
and then
okay,
redo. Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, no, he'll do it right. But I just wanted.
I just didn't want to see you see
Yeah.
lines. I'm like, wait a minute.
No, they'll do it, but they're just gonna do the red is what I asked them to redo, because that's
different
what,
colors now.
yeah, that's what looks the worst is the red, so he's gonna come back and fix that. We also, interestingly, Walmart and the national companies are now looking to brand high school. So they're looking to be able to sell Goffstown High School wear. So as part of this, I signed a licensing agreement over the summer so we can maybe make some money. So for we're gonna allow them to sell Goffstown wear, but for everything they sell, we'll get a portion of that proceed for using our name. And that was something
Is there exclusivity to that where nobody else can use it in the contract?
It was through NHIAA. It's not with a specific company, but NHIAA is managing it, so that if somebody asked to use it, they would.
But there's not any limitation to say a
No.
local vendor to
No,
sign
no,
up to be
not
able
at
to do it.
all, not
Okay.
at all, no. So we did do that. The building committee's been meeting all summer on both the Bartlett and Maple Ave projects. We are moving right along. We have some preliminary drawings, some great ideas, and I expect that at your next board meeting on the 19th, we'll come with kind of the proposal of what we're looking at so that the board can get an idea of where we're at that point. I did also today actually get a proposal from the town that they're looking to do, and I don't know if this is, it's called a conceptual subdivision plan. I don't know if that's just kind of going out there off of, I'm gonna probably say it wrong, Lesnick Road.
Lesnick Road,
For
yeah.
a 12 lot subdivision. So again, I sent in the letter saying, do what you want, but our schools are full. You have to think about that. What 12 single family houses will bring to our district in an already overcrowded situation. So, I just got that today, so we sent that in. I think that's all I have. It's a wrap up of my summer. You want me to talk about that?
Or I will.
Okay.
Okay. It probably should have come around in correspondence, but it just came in today, so it didn't get from me to the folder. So this is from NEAS&C, dated June of this year. It follows the meeting of the Commission on Public Elementary and Middle Schools and reviewed the 2-year progress reports submitted by MVMS. They're really happy. They admire the fact that the community has done so well to maintain its school and its accreditation status at a time when the economics of doing so are difficult. They specifically cite the following. The addition of the position of Dean of Students to improve communication and discipline. The purchase of cameras for building and buses for security and safety purposes. The use of Power School as a means to make data available and usable for teachers. And I would say also parents, even though they didn't. The development of a variety of communication techniques to convey information both internally and externally, again, speaks to our goal of improving our communication with our community. The establishment of a process by which faculty can provide input into faculty meeting agendas. The expansion of the use of information center volunteers. The equitable distribution of counseling caseloads, the relocation of the guidance offices to provide more appropriate privacy, and the reorganization of the maintenance department. That's what they had to say. If you'd like to read it, I'll pass it around. Again, that continues to be, have been a good decision. I think it benefits the school and what's going on at the school to have that extra set of eyes looking at it. And we continue to be one of the few middle schools in the state that receives accreditation from that organization. Old business. I see none
Yep.
here. I think
Everything's
we've touched
neat.
on bunches of it. AREA.
So this is, I was reviewing the area agreement and the legal requirements of an area agreement. And lo and behold, in order to have an area agreement, you have to have it on the ballot 2 years prior to the expiration, which would mean this March of 12, we have to have something on the ballot. So after researching it, I sought some legal advice because the law is very vague. And so I needed to seek some legal advice, which interestingly we sought 10 years ago when we went through this process, kind of what the process looks like. And so there's two parts that the three boards would participate in. One would either be kind of an extension, review, / amendment of the agreement, which would be you'd be extending it to, the minimum is 10 years. You'd be extending it to some period of time and might amend or review it. So you might make just small changes to it. If that is the case, then you would just put on the warrant, would be that you're looking to extend, all three communities would be looking to extend it for the period of 10 years. You can renegotiate it, which would mean you're throwing the document away and you're starting fresh. If that is the case, what would be on the ballot would be approval to renegotiate the area agreement. Okay. Ray and I have spoken, and given that the area agreement seems to work, it's our recommendation that what basically has to happen is one of the three boards needs to send notice to the other boards that they would like to begin the process of either renegotiating or extending, reviewing, amending it, to make the process start to happen. So I guess you're the first board I'm meeting with, so I put it out there as you're obviously the bigger board and obviously the one with the most stake in this at this moment in time. So I didn't know if this board wanted to have conversation about what direction you wanted to go and if you wanted to send a letter to the other two boards.
I would need to entertain a motion.
I'll make a
or-
motion to send a letter to the other two boards,
Okay.
asking them to entertain, not necessarily renegotiate, but considering either renegotiating or extending the current contract for a period of time.
Okay. Would somebody either like to second that, or would you like to have a discussion first? So I'll take either one. Discussion?
That's
All
a
right.
discussion.
Who would like to speak first?
Question.
Hank?
You put this on a ballot. You say we want to, are you asking permission? In other words, what happens if the voters say no?
Then that's why, I believe that's why you do 2 years ahead of time, so you have time then, the next 2 years to figure out what the next step would be.
Okay. Does the RSA give any advice in that direction?
It gives none. The other question, just so you know, the other question that was asked was, at the end of this 10-year agreement, can a district just walk away? Because there's lots of statutes about withdrawal from the agreement,
No.
and in fact, well, actually, yes, they can. And in fact, that was what the attorney said 10 years ago, was yes, at the end of 10 years, a district can walk away from an area agreement. However, they have to have a plan, so they would have to be withdrawing from an agreement. They'd have to leave, but they don't have to go through, there's a whole withdrawal process if you choose to withdraw before the agreement actually expires. But they would need to be doing that. So that was just a question that had come up as well.
Could you clarify that, because I thought it was a little bit different. I thought the sending districts could walk away from the contract at the end of the period, but the receiving district had to give more notification than that, I thought.
I don't know, I think
Actually-
anybody, but
Actually, both sides have parameters around how they may behave and how they have to give notice. They may be, I don't recall the details, but I do remember the discussion that we had 10 years ago. Or actually, it was probably 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
But there are limitations. You can't just pull up stakes and disappear.
right, you can't just leave another district high and dry that
Right.
has nowhere, I mean, the Department of Ed won't approve that.
And nor may a district that is sending its students simply walk away. Doesn't work that way. I think that, and looking at the last 8 years and the AREA agreement that we've been existing under, there, I believe, have been not any more than 3 issues that I can only think of 2 that we've managed to address and get through. So I would go even further, that the letter that we send would simply say,
Extend and amend.
we seek to sit down at the table and extend.
I mean, I would prefer just to extend it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's my
Well,
preference.
Again, that's the invitation, so,
Yep, I would support that.
okay.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Makes sense? Then, because there hasn't been a second, Keith, would you care to restate your motion and make it more limited?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that we send a letter to both New Boston and Dunbarton, ask them to sit down and meet in regards to extending the current contract, current area agreement, excuse me.
Second.
Any further discussion or question? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We're unanimous.
Great, I will draft a letter for youth club.
Great. I guess the most important thing to talk about in terms of negotiation is dates. We have some proposals from GEA, and we still have yet to hear from GSS.
Correct, GEA, actually on the same day we sent our letter to them requesting, that Philip sent, we got a letter from them requesting. So we are all set, I have some proposed dates, so we can look at those now, or we can look at them after the meeting.
I guess the.
Probably do it after the meeting if you want,
Okay.
if you don't mind, Philip.
That's fine. As it currently stands, the people who populate the negotiations are Keith and Suzanne and I. If for some reason anybody wants to cede their membership on, or role on that group, feel free to do so. We can discuss that afterwards. Because we all know how much time those take.
Yeah, you might want to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe after me, we could talk
Yeah.
about, we need to set a more rigid timeline, I think, this time around.
Okay.
Especially doing two.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, then we'll do some follow-up then. And GSS, if we don't hear from them within another week or so, now
Want me
that,
to-
send them another note. Because that was something that we agreed back in December, I think.
It was a
That
while
we would,
ago.
that it was our collective intent to really sit down in March after the
Right,
vote.
after the vote.
And we're a little bit behind the 8 ball. We've given up, what, 5 months?
Okay, I can do, if I don't hear from them by, say, Tuesday, I'll send them a letter.
Great. Is,
This is just my request to ask HR to look at 2 policies.
Okay.
One is admission of resident students, and this came up at our retreat this summer. We did some work on residency issues and residency concerns, and the administration would like the HR committee to review what the parents must provide as proof of residence. And their 2 concerns are, one is, can we add, they must be current utility bill, current bills, something that's current. It doesn't say that in there. The other, it says, in the unusual case that these are not available, a signed and notarized statement of residence must be submitted. Can we just reword that? We want it to be very clear that the notary is notarizing that is their residence, that it's not their signature.
Okay.
We just want it to be clear that the notary is saying that this is their residence.
just out of curiosity,
With the notary-
is that within the notary's
Well, I don't-
capacity?
well-
No, it isn't.
That sounds a little bit
So
further
then,
than.
if it isn't, then we would like that taken out, because
Okay.
really, all it takes is somebody to confirm that that's their signature, but not their residence.
It has nothing to
And
do
so-
with the authenticity of the veracity of the
right, of
document.
the document.
It only has to do with their signature.
Right, and so what we're finding now in certain situations is people are bringing these letters in, and we're saying, well, you're just authenticating the signature. How do we know
Yeah.
this is really, who's authenticated that you actually live there? So we would like HR to look at those 2 things on that policy.
And those are both in JFAA?
Yes, okay. And then under the other one, EBBD on air quality, the new law requires an anti-idling policy, so we would just like that added to that policy. Something on anti-idling, and MC has all the information on that.
You can't sit outside the school. with
School,
the-
right, and we'd like to really start to enforce that. And so if we have it in our policy, we can put signs up and start to enforce anti-idling.
Maybe.
And how do
we
you-
can use
and
that
what do
as
you-
a
how do you plan
traffic
to
control
enforce that?
device.
Tell parents to turn their cars off.
Mm-hmm.
What about
And in the winter,
buses?
how many do you think are going to be compliant?
Well, we'll bring the police, I don't know.
I'm saying.
But at least we have to start at least with a policy and informing parents and being able to put signs up. Right now, we don't
I
have
think
it
you're
in our
creating a policy
policy.
that you're not going to be able to enforce.
Yes.
Not in the winter.
Well, it's good practice, and so
It is
hopefully,
good practice,
it is
and
good
just the
practice. and-
effort of saying, please turn off your car. I think there are a lot of people who will say, oh, okay,
It's not like they're in a
Diane,
bikini in
I
their
propose
car.
that you be standing outside Mountain View Middle School in that long line and go down and tell every parent, and on your way back up, count how many were compliant for you.
Well,
Well,
at
I
least
haven't
at
been
the
outside
start.
Mountain View, but I
Proximity of the building.
have been outside Maple. I
I'll tell you what.
turned my car off.
I'll
and
give
we
you,
also
I'll
had-
give you the bag of potatoes for your trip back up the hill.
Proximity to the building,
Building,
that's the way
right,
it's.
right. And it's, I mean, it's
Yeah,
to
but
keep,
it's
the main focus of it started with keeping buses from parking out front where the windows are open and idling, and now, so at Maple Ave, where they're parked out front, where there's windows right there at Barley, you know, it's turn your car off while you're there. If they're in the street parked, they don't have to turn, it's within the proximity of the building, but it is the law. And so we just want to include the law as part of our policy so that we can begin to at least put signs up and enforce it, which is what we should be doing, so.
Typically like 6 cars it applies to.
Right.
It's not a lot of car lengths
Yeah.
that can fit inside in front of our
I guess
buildings.
if that breeze is coming up, the hill, it doesn't
A lot of
matter.
it has to do with the buses too, with the diesel
Well,
fumes.
the diesel engine is your biggest culprit, is what they're trying to.
So anyway. No, this-
Maybe we take
Okay, so final school board meeting minutes, so I came across an interesting thing that we do here in Goffstown. I think we do it in Dunbarton, but we don't do it in New Boston. When you approve minutes that are amended, we don't actually go back and change the minutes.
Nope.
We just put them as amended. And I do believe we should be amending them, and those
Yeah.
should be the final document that's posted.
Yeah.
I don't know, this goes way back. I asked Denise, and she's like, oh, since I've been here, that's how we've always done them.
30 years, you think,
And so I was
probably?
like, well, that doesn't really make sense, because you're amending them and you're approving the amended
Well,
minutes, so.
but there's
they-
always the caveat at the end of every minute saying that these minutes may be amended. You must review the minutes of the following
Right.
meeting to.
Right, but,
Catch any of it.
yeah, so I mean, you can keep going that. I just think proper process would be that you actually go back and amend the minutes, and then the amended minutes are what goes in your final, as your final document.
I would agree with that.
I mean,
Makes
so I'm
the
just
most
looking for
user-friendly.
kind of like, because otherwise you have
we've been doing it
minutes
for 30 years
and
doesn't
you
mean
can
it's
read
wrong.
them
I don't know
unless you
why
look
we've
at the
been doing
next
it that
minutes
way.
to know what was
So
changed.
just out of
Right.
curiosity.
Nobody
in
got
theory,
picky about it.
This really is a cut and paste operation.
Right, it should
Because
be,
you take the amendment, you move it from the minutes in which the amendment was offered and voted on, and
put them
paste
in,
it.
actually change your minutes,
Right.
Okay.
and then those are the ones you approve.
Correct.
Those
That's
are
fine.
technically the ones you've approved.
Would-
I don't know if you're cutting from, I mean, not to get too.
Right, you can-
I don't
you
think
can-
you're
you
cutting
can
from the
put language
minutes
in there.
of the week where you fix it. You can probably still keep in your minutes where you
Where you
fixed
fixed
it.
it, but then you go back and change the minutes, fix
Copy.
them, and
You're
fix
gonna
them.
I'd like
copy
to make a
and
motion to ask the administration to please address the issue
fix
and
it,
to
please.
come up with the proper solution.
Thank you, I wanted the okay to go ahead and change them, but I didn't want to like just change a process that's been happening apparently for a long time.
We have no idea why we've been doing it that way, so just fix it. I have no idea.
Okay. Residence request, I have one request, for residency, amazingly only this year. This is a family, they have a, 9th grader starting at Goffstown High School. They are moving, they are renting an apartment beginning October 1st. And so I have a copy of the lease for October 1st, I have a copy of, it's signed, it's the full lease. And they would like to be able to enroll their daughter at Goffstown High School for the start of the school year, as opposed to, they're from Manchester, starting in Manchester and then moving here October 1st, so.
What part of town are they renting?
They are renting right, I believe it is Main Street, 46 Main Street.
Oh, the paperwork looks good, and you saw the lease. Right.
Move we
Move
approve
that.
the request.
And there's a second.
I'll
Whichever
second
one
it.
of us will. I think Suzanne and I both moved it, so.
My only
Suzanne-
question is, obviously, it's gonna be
Keith
based on
seconded.
actually
Actually moving
enrolling
here,
on
absolutely.
October 1st.
Yeah.
If they don't actually take a lease on October 1st,
Yeah, yeah, they have a signed lease and they have a deposit already paid, so we have documentation of that,
yeah,
so.
I imagine they would follow through, but if we find out October 2nd is still living in Manchester,
Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We're unanimous.
Okay.
It's a lot easier to do this with 5 people.
And the last is all the rest, which is some confirmation, some hires. I'll pass them pages. It is front and back.
Yes, it is.
So we'll start at the top and we'll do section by section. So we have 3 teacher resignations. Anna DeVilder, moved out of state. Sandrine Taylor I'll try to say that one, also moved. She moved back to New Jersey, where she came from. And Ed Patoma, who was we hired as an 8th grade science teacher at the end of the year, unfortunately passed away over the summertime. And so we just have to bring his resignation because you had actually hired him. So that's a sad thing that happened. So I'm looking for you to accept those or actually confirm the resignations. I've already accepted them.
Do you have a motion? Hank, Lori seconded, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, we're good.
I also approved a 1-year leave of absence for Britt Ledoux. She's a special ed teacher at Glen Lake, who had a baby 4 months early, 5 months early, very, very small. I believe the baby may be home at this point in time, but she has requested a 1-year leave of absence for childcare. And so I did accept that, so I'm, again, just looking for your confirmation of that.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Keith and Diane? All in favor? Opposed, abstentions, we're good.
Then you see the list of teacher confirmations. I can fill you in on any of them that you're interested in. I can point out some of them that will probably look familiar. Mike French is not Mike French, the old police chief.
You know, I actually got a call from a concerned resident, why do you know why he's coming to teach?
Yes.
When-
That is
I'm
not
like,
Michael
"Not
French.
the
That is
same
a
one."
very different Michael French, who will be teaching 7th grade math. Mark Gagne, 8th grade social studies, is another name. Mark was a budget cut, but we had, if you recall, last year at the end of the year, you approved a teacher, took a leave of absence from the high school, so the teacher who was moving to the middle school is gonna stay at the high school, fill that 1-year leave of absence. So we were able to bring Mark back as a teacher at the middle school, so that's a nice thing. Jill McPhail was a part-time special ed teacher at Glen Lake. She is going to fill Britt Ledoux's 1-year leave of absence, so she's another familiar face that you've seen before. So she'll take the 1-year position, and then, let's see, there's up above, Diane Cloutier is a 50% special ed. That's a 1-year position to fill Jill's position. So we just kind of shifted around a little bit. If you see Ann Mello, media specialist at Bartlett, and Joyce Pang, music at Bartlett. The media specialist, and then below the reading specialist, those were one position of Bridget McNamee. Bridget, we asked to move back into a classroom, so we put her in a classroom. And what we did was split out those 2 positions to give us more flexibility with them in timeframes. So we were able to hire 2 part-time people to fill those. The 40% music position, that was a full-time position shared between Mountain View. Again, as we've looked at schedules and calendars and trying to figure out what is best for kids, that position being shared wasn't working because David had to plug music in whenever the person, because Mountain View's schedule was much more static, we had to plug them in, so it ended up that music was happening at times when reading should be happening, or it was half an hour reading and then we plugged music in and then we had more reading. And so in the best interest of kids, we split out those 2 positions. And we're able to find somebody to fill those. Shelley Rhines is a Title I teacher. That will be I believe that's the 1-year position. We had some additional ARA funds that we needed to spend, and so that, again, will be just a 1-year position, but providing some more supports to Bartlett. And the rest are fairly typical. So I'm, again, just looking for your confirmation on those hires, because I've already hired them.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Diane
Seconded.
moved, Keith seconded, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions.
Good to go?
Okay, so good.
We just have 1 track change confirmation. Erica Sweat at Mountain View is moving from her bachelor's to her bachelor's plus 15.
6th grade teacher?
Yes. Yes.
Gotta pull my.
I'm trying to remember which picture she was, that's why I said.
No, you don't need to do anything. That's just information. We have 4
Thanks.
co-curriculars that I actually need nominations for. These were student council, and I know Ginny had some questions about them. She had asked me how many student council members we had last year. So I did talk to Jim was able to get some information. Student council after talking to some of the advisors who have been longer-term advisors, they have seen numbers drop as the years go on. They did see a significant number drop when we stopped the late bus, because it used to be an after-school activity, and so kids no longer had and it wasn't a lengthy activity, but kids no longer had transportation home, so they do see their numbers as lower. They've kind of moved it from total student council to more student government, to look at what can students do more positively, because they don't have enough to do really large activities, so it became more student government. But and I think they meet with Jim, they talk about kind of what other changes, like I know when Megan started in the lunchroom, they were all concerned about what we were serving for lunch now, and so Jim helped and set up a meeting with Megan and the student government to talk about why those changes happened and what we could do and what were they looking for, and I think they still support some dances and things like that, but I know Ginny had that question, so that was the answer to her question. So I do need a nomination for those, because those were not approved.
Motion.
Excuse me, I'll make a motion.
Seconded by Lori. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Abstention? One abstention. Suzanne?
And on the back are all of the athletic co-curricular confirmations. And again, these are confirmations. I've already hired them. Some of the new, I know the board always asks who are the new coaches. Jennifer Ouellette is new coaching B-team field hockey. Amy Stilfen is new teaching JV basketball girls. Chris La Rochelle is new teaching freshman football. John Triciani is new teaching JV football, or coaching. Sam Galatas is new coaching JV boys soccer, although he was a volunteer last year, so he's familiar with the program. And Sarah Tower is new doing JV girls soccer. All the rest are returning.
I need a motion
Just to confirm.
to confirm.
So moved.
Suzanne, second by Diane. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We're good.
I have a question. Stacy, you were talking about the late bus impacting student council. Is this the first negative we've heard with discontinuing the late bus services?
I know I've heard that it had an impact on the Crispin's program at the middle school after-school program. I think the biggest impact I've heard about has been from Mountain View. I mean, obviously it's Mountain View in the high school. I think because high school kids have other access to things, so they have friends who drive, it's less noticeable at the you're likely to hear less complaints at the high school that we've cut the service, because kids will find other ways. At the middle school, I think it has impacted programming, and I see Barb shaking her head. It has impacted, because kids can,
Even things like, staying after school with teachers, you couldn't do that because you had to have someone pick you up. So some kids didn't have that accessibility, they couldn't stay after with me because mom wasn't gonna get to work till 6 o'clock and there wasn't someone to pick them up. So, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So it doesn't impact just athletics and coaching?
No,
impacts-
absolutely,
not.
yeah. Especially middle school where you have to have a parent to come get you.
Exactly,
If you're a junior, you likely have friends who drive, and so if you need to get to a sports practice or you need to stay after school for something, there's likely somebody else staying and you can get a ride home.
Can we get a
Nobody
finger
says
on
we-
that impact
we
as we
agree.
go? Do you think just kind of follow?
Sure, as I hear things.
Yeah.
Might be something to consider reinstating if we can find the funds.
Well, I think we tried.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
we
we
did
put it
last
back
year's
in the
budget.
budget. I mean, I think, I'll be honest, there's other positions that I think are way more critical right now. Being down one technician, it has, Gary's ready to pull his hair out, and it's gonna be, what used to be, if a teacher laptop had a problem, a day or two, they'd get a response. It may be a week or two before they get a response, which means they're gonna have no technology. We just down one technician. We have a lot of equipment in our districts. I mean, Gary fixes everything from our phones, copy machines, to every laptop, every computer, you know, every Proxima, if we have a problem, their team fixes it, and their team is down one.
He's even been known to fix a jam stapler.
Absolutely. So I think while I support the late bus, I think there's other positions that I think I would put people back in before I put that back in.
Yeah, I was just looking for some quantification.
Yeah.
Just some more data,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we could take
Well,
a good
well,
look.
I don't know if I would care, because the late bus obviously is directly impacting kids and what they can and can't participate in school.
Well,
And I understand about the rest of it, but we're here for kids.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, it's worth noting that we have some experience in the not very distant past with pushing resources away from things that require upkeep and investment. And I would not want to find ourselves, in terms of technology, in the same position that we found ourselves in terms of renovating our high school. While I'm thrilled at the building that we have now, in much the same way it's important to do upkeep on that daily, the same is true of our technology capital,
Yeah, especially when our technology is getting nothing but older.
right? And so on balance, I'm a little bit, like, as Sue is, a little disappointed that we can trace easily some impact to students in ways that we'd really like to see them benefiting. You know, we can't provide Crispins with the budget necessary to operate the program, but if they're here and students can't take advantage of it because of transportation issues, we need to start, I need to borrow your phrase,
Which one? I have some.
getting outside the box.
Yeah.
You
There is
know.
no box.
There is no box.
There is no box, great. You know, so maybe there's some opportunities out there, but we're faced with a time when the decisions are going to become more and more apparent to
Yeah.
people because their impact is clearer and more easily defined. In any event.
And that's all she wrote. It does say personnel under non-public, but that was a carryover from last meeting. I don't have anything, so.
Any other new business to come before the board? Thank you very much. Welcome back.
Oh, just remind people that on the, for the GEA and GES
Yep.
committees,
Yep.
for us to stay and come up with some dates to give back to you.
Absolutely. Lori?
I'll make a motion to adjourn then.
Wait, can I vote on non-public?
No.
Well, unless you have something you'd like to specifically request.
Would you like to?
A personnel thing for like 5 minutes, if that long?
Yeah,
If-
sure.
if
I
you
withdraw
ask-
mine and make a motion for non-public.
Second.
Go a second, okay.
That's it.
And the purpose would be?
Personnel
For
matter.
personnel matter, okay.
I don't know the RSA number, sorry.
Won't hold you to it, we'll
Okay.
assume that it'll get captured.
And it should be 91
Yes, it's the same one.
dash A.
Don't do that, you sound like your father. Don't do that.